Hi there. The past couple of weeks have been quite an adventure as my family got together to clean out an old home that had been sold and was going to be demolished. There were some old family treasures recovered, and in addition to getting to clean up the family cast iron, I inherited a pair of vintage pie plates. It's commonly believed these were made from aluminum, but the Table Talk Pie Company replied to my inquiry and confirmed these pie tins are really made of tin. They also said I should try to make pies in these, and since they were kind enough to reply, here's the result of making apple pies in these vintage pie plates. We'll be making 4 pies here, so this will be a double-sized batch to have enough crust. Also, this recipe is a little different from your traditional apple pie recipe, as it tries to produce a pie that tastes more like apples with no nutmeg and allspice in it. I like those spices, but they're not necessary here. This double-sized batch means we're using a full pound of butter cut up into cubes. We mix it all together, and then we add the secret ingredient, alcohol. We add the liquor a little at a time until it's completely mixed together. And this will make the crust good and solid, but it won't become tough and chewy, and we won't have to use lard or shortening in the crust. You can use vodka because it doesn't have any taste, but an apple-flavored liquor will really give this crust a special taste that will make sure your guests eat the crust along with the pie itself. Then we knead the dough into 4 balls, and we cover them and keep them in the fridge for about half an hour. Then from here, we get to play with one of my favorite toys, an apple peeler. Alton Brown may not like this because it's a unitasker, but it's a lot of fun to use this, and it really cuts down on the time needed to prepare the apples. After cutting the apples into slices, we add a cup of sugar and let the apples drain for about an hour. This will keep the pie filling from having too much liquid. Here we bring out our pie plates. Of course, the Table Talk Company is even more famous for its smaller 4-inch pies, and while we don't have a 4-inch pie plate, we do have 2 cast iron skillets for making the smaller pies. We grease our pans with shortening, and then we roll out the crusts for the pies. Not really. That's all right. We'll just kind of fudge it. We're definitely going to have a lot. Yeah, there will definitely be enough for all of these pies. Bake it till you make it.
That's the motto.
Gonna make you eat it off the floor.
Booze. And by now, the apples are ready, and all we have to do now is reserve the drained apple juice to use later. Drained out of the pies, out of the apples. And now we mix in the ingredients for the pie filling. We can add apple cider to flavor the pie, or more flavored liquor if you prefer. Using the liquor and a touch of vinegar gives a savory flavor to the filling, and even though we're using more sugar in the filling, it won't be disgustingly sweet. And some cinnamon for that special apple pie flavor. And we simply mix it together. We add the apples to the pie pans and make sure the apple slices are lying flat. The apples will shrink as they bake, and we don't want there to be huge gaps of space underneath the crust. We're almost done now, and now we can prepare the crusts. This was my first time preparing a lattice crust, and while it may not be a professional-looking pie, I feel the results weren't bad. Meanwhile, we'll give a whole crust to the second pie, and it's just a matter of tucking it in and cutting slits in the top. Finally, the rest of the dough goes to top the smaller pies. Golden color on top. Also,
Splish splash, I was egg white in a apple pie. All on a Saturday night.
Now that we've done this, like a glue, we add an egg wash to the pie and sprinkle sugar crystals over the top for that final touch. And finally, the pies go into the oven. Leave it scorched, but that's okay. And here we have our finished apple pies. It was a lot of work to make 4 pies, but the final result is certainly worth it. It's my own fault the pies were slightly scorched, but that's because I have a brand new oven and I'm still getting used to it. Even so, this didn't stop these pies from turning out wonderfully delicious. There's nothing like a homemade apple pie, and I'm glad to have been able to make these pies in the original pie tins from one of our most famous New England food makers, Table Talk. Now, what I need to do is to find a way to get Table Talk together with one of my other favorite USA companies, Lodge Cast Iron. What if Table Talk were to make a deal with Lodge to produce a 6-inch cast iron skillet with a Table Talk logo? I'd buy it. Thank you for watching.